Good morning and welcome to Real Talk. I'm Claudia with Claudia's Door Decor, and this is Grace from Little Punkin Apparel. We're going to use that. She has several businesses with several stores, so I will let her go ahead and share that with you. Good morning, Grace.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing super good now. All right, friend. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know where you are located and where people can find you.
Awesome. So, my name is Grace. I am a, barber by trade, and I do own a barber shop here in Central Alabama. I'm also an office manager for six different companies. So, I manage manage seven businesses, own one. And I'm now owning a second is my apparel company, which is Little Punkin Apparel. I have a dog. I am engaged, and fun facts. Yeah.
So that's basically the overview. Basically, she has a dog which she loves very, very much. We have
Right here.
seen her a couple of times in video talks and stuff, and I have grown attached to this sweet, precious pups of hers too, because being that my puppy that passed, I'm very attached to other people's dogs, but I don't want another one. So I'm good with other people having them. I don't need them. So yay us. Okay. So hairdresser by trade. Let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about how that came about.
So, college was not for me. I did not do Wendy not very often. Um, College was not for me. I did try to go into the medical field. I wanted to do radiology. So I attended a local college here, and I was very specifically told by my anatomy teacher that this was not going to be a field that I needed to go down because I really, really, really sucked at anatomy and like the smells and the chemicals. She was like, no. So I actually grew up around hairstylists and my little small town that I grew up in. So I'd already had that little bit of a connection with the hairstylist world. So I was like, I'll give it a try. And I went to cosmetology school for a little over a year and a half and graduated top of my class. And 13 years later, I now own my own business.
Okay. So you own your own business because there was steps that went through that. Like you did women's hair for 3 to 4 years, you said?
Yeah, I did women's hair for probably about 4 or 5 years. And then I actually quit doing hair because, and it's nothing personal. It's just women are very gossipy, especially when you're with them for 3, 4, 5 hours. So it just got a little overwhelming, especially being in a small town. So I actually quit doing hair and I bartended for about 8 months to a year. And I had a little bit of a disagreement with my dad. He was disappointed that I was not doing what I paid all this money to do and that I was so talented to do. And unfortunately, about a month later, he passed. So I started looking into different avenues to take, and that's when I found like the men's side of being in the hair world, and I fell in love with it. I hit the ground running. I loved it.
Mary just said the hairdresser drama is real.
It's so bad.
So there's obviously some understanding behind that. I'm sure a lot of hairdressers that will watch this will nod their heads, especially because I've heard several times hairdressers say that basically they're people's therapists and they don't have to say anything. They just sit there and listen. They don't have to say a word, and the person will just unload
Oh yeah.
everything. So yeah. So I get that, and I get that being exhausting. So men don't do that, do they?
Men gossip about other things.
Okay.
Men, well, not necessarily gossip. They complain or they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
about their spouses, and it's more humor. It's more fun, it's more bickering back and forth, like my wife made me do laundry yesterday. How dare she? It's more stuff like that. And sports. I'm really not a sports fan, but I have to be. So, but yeah, men are much more, and they're more loyal. Men are much more
Oh.
loyal.
Meaning?
Men, men like they like consistency. They don't like having to train is not the word, but they don't like having to jump back and forth around and around to different hairstylists, and they pick a person and they like them. Like they pick a person and they stay with them. I've had clients with me for the entire my entire career, even from cosmetology school, and they live almost 2 hours away from me, and I have some that live 5 minutes down the street, and they will travel.
Well,
They will.
Mary just said they're not afraid to tell you what they want with their grooming.
Yes, they're like, this is what I want. This is what I want. Or if they don't know what they want for sure, they're like, what do you suggest? And then they are much more receptive of that versus a woman. It's like, comes in and she's got board straight hair and she wants the luscious Taylor Swift swirls. And I'm like, I'm going to need you to print out a picture and take that to your forehead.
So this is Grace Unleashed. Just so you know, guys, she is sass and crass and blunt as they come, and she means it like from a good place. Like she means it from a good place. So just understand that to know Grace is to love her, and I appreciate her so much for being who she is thoroughly. Like you get what you get with Grace. That's how she is all the time. So just know that I love that about you, girl, and I just appreciate just how blunt you are. So here's the loyalty thing, because obviously my experience with it is husband, boyfriends, I don't have any sons, but they get their hair cut a lot more often than women do because their style grows out a lot faster than women if they have short hair. And you do something that, I mean, it's part of your business name,
It's
right?
fades. Yes, fades.
Right? So you do fades and those grow like that's genius. Get good at something that grows out within 2 weeks.
Yes.
That way it's business that keeps coming back. So that's genius, by the way, just so you know. I love that. So talk about your family a little bit. How do you fall in your family line? Basically, how has that made you who you are? Because basically where we fall in our families typically will dictate, how we are. So go ahead and share some of that.
Okay. I am the youngest of four. I have a brother that is 50, he'll be 52 next week. And then there's a huge gap in between us. My mom was 43 when I was born. So everyone naturally thought she was my grandmother. But
No,
I, yeah, so I'm trying to pick and choose what I say here. I apologize. So
you're fine.
my mom was the baby of nine. So me essentially being raised as an only child and her like escalating through her age, she had to go take care of her loved ones, her sisters and her siblings, and I was exposed severely to the medical field, not necessarily the medical field. My mom was a natural caregiver. She was a care provider, not a nurse or anything like that. So um, as I got older, I took on that role for my mom, and she has late stage vascular dementia, which was onset by trauma. And the trauma was that my dad had passed, and she walked in the living room and he had passed. So the type of dementia she has escalated very quickly. I do appreciate though that she did expose me at such a young age, because I was able to take that information and take that knowledge and be able to provide care for her until I couldn't. To rewind, my dad was a home builder. So he built houses pretty much all over the state of Alabama. He did a lot of hurricane rebuilding in South Alabama, like towards the Orange Beach area. He was a very, very good man. Very good man.
So his passing obviously not only rocked your family's world, but it really took your mom with him.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we're going to dive more into that in a minute before we go there because I want those that are able to hear some more of basically how you came to TikTok, and then we'll go back to this. And I just want to let you guys know that if you have triggers for talking about mental health, I just want you to be aware that we will be discussing mental health because we feel it's important. I support Grace in what she is able to share, what she wants to share, but also respectfully, I want you all to know that this will be discussed. So if somebody sharing their trauma story or their mental health story triggers you, I just want you to be aware, okay? All right. So, TikTok. Okay, let's just jump right to TikTok because that is obviously the platform where we met and also where we spend a lot of our time. So, go ahead and share a little bit about how TikTok came in.
TikTok came in when I needed it the most. I was for a very long time anti TikTok. It just like TikTok was everywhere. It was like the new Twitter. Everybody had to have it. I didn't want it. I didn't want it. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of scrolling through reels. However, it came into my life when I needed it the most, and I have fallen into a community that is incredible. I love you all so much, and even though you've never seen me face to face, I feel like we all are family. And I love y'all. And like I said, you came in when I needed you the most. Yeah.
So in basically scrolling, I mean, face it, that's how we all start. Basically in scrolling through, what was it that finally got you hooked? What was it about being here that got you hooked? Because I promise you, a lot of people don't understand what it means when you say, we have a community. We are in each other's lives. We care about each other. Like people don't understand that. Like, how do you do that when you're just scrolling through and watching people? Can you share about that?
So I believe you're asking about like me finding Kayla.
Well, who you share is up to you, but just know, guys, anything she shares, she's already discussed. So this is not going to be anything new to anybody, okay?
To take a very small step back. So when my mom was to the point that she could no longer live with me, I needed to fill a void. I, as a human being and as someone who does struggle with mental health that is a little wonky at times, I needed to fill a void. So what I did was very unhealthy, and it was very it was fulfilling at the time. So because I was taking a step in that direction, I have made wreaths and swags and mailbox swags and things like that for years. However, my mom always loved me to decorate. So when she wasn't here, I felt like I needed to take on more decorating. Like I needed to make her more proud of me. It's there. So in doing that, I wanted to expand my knowledge, and I wanted to grow and to learn more. Just, I wasn't looking to be a part of anything. I just wanted, I started with YouTube. I started with Instagram, and YouTube, sure, but Instagram was definitely not there for me. So I took the leap and I joined TikTok. And when you join TikTok, very first things it asks you, like, what's your interest? And I put like crafts and traveling and things like that. So a few weeks into having TikTok, very specifically, I found Kayla with Sweet Girl Design Co. And she, not the first live, probably not the second, but something about her kind of clicked. So I followed her and I'd get notification that she would go live, and I would watch her. And being a newbie, of course, I would ask questions and she would always answer every single time. Like, she does not let a question go unanswered. So she was on her live one day, and I will not go into her story, but she has a mental health story. And her struggle with that is something that she was very open about that night, something that she was really, it turned more into, let's talk about this than wreath making. And so something was on her chest that day, and I felt like she was talking to me. I felt like that was me. Like, that's how I felt. That's how I was processing information. And even though I've struggled with mental health for years, it's something that we don't talk about. It's something that we just don't discuss it, especially not on a public platform. So to have that small little connection with her, or a huge connection to me, I sent her a message afterwards. And I was like, hey, I know this might be intrusive, but would you mind if I just kind of chatted with you about this? And she's like, well, sure. Well, then it went from, wreath making and depression to, what are you doing on Tuesday? And then that's where it started, especially with her. And she was walking me through like how to like improve my bows and how to improve my wreaths, and just very small pieces. But the way that she would communicate with me is very gentle. Anyway, so she was the first person I found. And then I want to say Angela and maybe a few others with Barrel of Wreaths kind of added to that afterwards. Then I really started diving into the wreath community. And then I started really following creators and following crafters and just getting really involved. And then as me and Kayla built a relationship together and a friendship, she asked me to become a moderator for her, because we had built like a very solid trust foundation. Come to find out, me and her are way too much alike. So, it matched. Like, we have the same trust issues in people, so I can kind of watch that in lives, and same kind of mentality on how to approach certain things. So she and I clicked there as far as like me being a moderator, and then it just kind of went from there. Then I met Kat, and then I met more people, more creators, and yeah. It's a very long answer, but yeah.
No, it's not a very long answer, because it's part of your story. It's part of how you dove in, but it wasn't by being a wallflower. It wasn't by just watching. You're engaging in that creator's live, which is something that I encourage people to do if they want to find people that are helpful and cheerleaders for you, because we know that this is very therapeutic. Crafting is a very therapeutic thing to do. And we find comfort in those that see us and are willing to say, come on, hey, you need help, let's help you. So that's part of the community that Grace fell in love with. That's part of the community that Grace sees, that she wanted to be a part of, and has invested. She has invested in this community. She has invested her time, her talent. She's a cheerleader for all of us. So just know that about Grace. You're a cheerleader for all of us, because you know what it's like to be somewhere that you don't feel like. You can be in a room full of people, guys, and feel completely alone. That's not the case here. You can be anonymous as you want, but you can also engage and have people get to know you. All right, so TikTok, Kayla, love Kayla. Kayla, we are trying to get you on Real Talk, friend. We are trying. And just know that we adore you. So whenever you're ready, we'll be here. That's my plug. Anyway. All right, so TikTok, moderating. Okay, let's talk about moderating for creators. Several of us, when we first start going live, whenever somebody offers to be a moderator, we just accept because we don't know what the heck we're doing. We just like, you're a moderator, you're a moderator. It's like Oprah, right? However, a lot of us don't have hundreds of people watching us. We don't have hundreds of people watching us. So we don't need several moderators. And not only that, listening to how Grace and Kayla built that relationship and how Grace and Kat moderate for Kayla. That's it. Because they know exactly what Kayla needs them to post, what she needs them to lift up, because they have that relationship. So light bulb moment for Claudia. I had 12 moderators. I only have maybe 30, 40 people on my lives. I don't need 12 moderators. I'm good. So just know, lots of love to everybody who has been moderating, but it gets kind of confusing when you have several people pinning, posting, answering. It's a lot. So I'm learning after almost a year on TikTok. I'm learning. So moderating. So as a moderator, because you now moderate for me for big reasons. I mean, totally not just TikTok reasons, but big reasons. What does that entail for you? Like, what kind of responsibility do you take on as a moderator?
I take it personally. I very, very much so take it personally because I see moderating not only as bluntly watching for creeps or bots or someone invading the live that probably doesn't need to be there. Those are kind of like no-brainer things. However, being a moderator, I try to be who I would want. So when I'm live and I'm creating, I want my website to be posted. I want consistency. I want my viewers to have access to that information. If there's a question that really needs importance, pin that to the top. In some cases, like yourself, and then with Kayla and Angela, like I have connections with you outside of TikTok. So if there is something that is just a huge red flag and I need you to know about it, then we need to handle it right now. I'm going to send you a message. That way, because the last thing I want to do is be on a live and cause drama, if you want to call it that, drama or some kind of big event. So I handle it the way that I would want things to be handled on my end. Professional, but fun, engaging, welcoming the viewers, because there is a lot of viewers that come in that a lot of creators don't see. But if a moderator sees them and at least tries to greet them, they feel a little bit more seen. So I think that answers your question. Just trying to, yeah.
No, it does.
I want to connect with a creator and try to do what I think the creator would want, but also is what I would want as a creator.
And that's part of it too. So she takes moderating to the next level, just saying. So you pair up typically with Kat.
I do.
Okay. I have to say that, and I'm just going to say this because this is my truth. This is what I believe. Kayla's lives are some of the most professional lives as far as the moderators, the communication, how things are said, how things are done. Because of that connection, communication, like there is never a situation that all three of them are in tune. They're a fine-tuned machine, but they've worked on that. Like these are things that they take seriously and that they discuss because it's everybody's, like those three, it's their job to make this transition for Kayla as smooth as possible because she is full-time now and she needs seamless lives. She needs, to be business and have fun, and her lives are fun and people do get to engage and hang out and learn and see and all the things. So, yeah, it's a very professional, fun, like I said, it's how all lives should be. Not chaotic, not mods pinning and other mods taking down to repin. It's like it's not chaos. So just know, you ladies, I see you, I appreciate you, and that is a job well done. So we appreciate that as viewers. I'm sure everybody agrees. Those are some of the fun lives. Okay, so you had, well, what you called it was just shared a whole bunch of stuff that you were willing to talk about, right? So you just verbally left that out there and said, here, you do what you want to do with this. So, as far as filling the void, as far as that void of your mom now being, basically, you were no longer able to care for her, so she has to be in a facility due to her dementia. Nobody that hasn't been, that you, if you haven't gone through it, you don't understand what that is like. There's a lot of voices that are in your head, that should never be there, but they are. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but I can only imagine, that slippery slope that you went down with that.
Yeah. And I would say that I'm still finding my grip with the slippery slope. So to kind of to go back to what I was saying previously. So my mom moved in with me late 2018, early 2019. She had she had a severe UTI in September of 2019. Interesting fact, and please take this to heart. If you have a loved one that is older, specifically a female, older women are more susceptible to having UTIs. However, if I were to get one or you were to get one, we would have the normal symptoms of, but with older patients, it goes strictly like straight to their brain. It's like they lose all sense of reality. They start hallucinating. They can have temperament change. They can have, there's just a multitude of symptoms. So if ever your loved one has like a switch, and wakes up in the middle of the night and thinks that her bedposts are headless children, it might be a problem. You know, it might be a problem. So early 2019, sorry, I fast forwarded. Early 2019, she began to show signs of much more significant memory loss, much more inability to concentrate, inability to do certain things. So when she had that UTI later in 2019, that really set her on the decline. I mean, she just went from kind of steady to absolutely downhill. Because that wasn't the only one. And it wasn't nowhere near like the 10th, 12th, 14th time. So anyway, so just always remember, check your loved ones. Please be mindful of micro cues as well. Anytime your loved one has different shifts and changes, they may not be able to tell you, but if you're aware enough of that person, you can see a difference. So fast forward, because she took that nosedive in August of 2020, I personally have some more female issues that I had to have a surgery in August of 2022. So that already kind of sets me on like a emotional path for having those issues. My mom went to stay with my sister and she started falling, and which when you start falling, especially at an older age, because at this point she's 73, 72, 73, don't quote my math. So obviously falls are very, very hard for older people. When she started falling is when she also began to escalate her aggression. Her everything just changed. I'll put it that way. So that was it was very emotional and physical and psychologically damaging. It's just that is the only word that I can describe. It's not difficult. Yes, it's difficult. It's not hard. Yes, it's hard. But it is just it's devastating. It is a roller coaster of emotions. It's roller coaster of relationships being strained. Currently my relationship with my family is very rocky, even though this has been 2 years now. My relationship with my fiance definitely hit hard, and he's still with me, so didn't scare him off too bad. I say that to lead up to when my mom left. It was in September of 22. So I had my surgery in August. She had the falls, the temperament changes. We had to move her out in September of 22. Between all of us, we just couldn't, none of us could care for her the way that she needed. Having my mom live with me, and I consumed the role. I wasn't her daughter. I wasn't her daughter. I have not been her daughter for quite some time, because I've always been going back to like my childhood and being raised in like a caregiving family. I can kind of see these things sooner than probably some people would. So my mind immediately started shifting. But I was told a long time ago that you cannot be a daughter or a son or a husband or a wife and be a caregiver. And I never understood that until it happened to me. So, sorry. When my mom left my house, it's like that emptiness. Like I didn't have a purpose anymore. I know I did. Trust me, I know I did. This is my brain. This is those voices. It's like I no longer had a purpose. I have this empty space. I have anger for that room that she was in. I have anger for that picture that's hanging on the wall that we picked out together at Hobby Lobby. Just all the anger and the feeling. So I went a little sideways. I ripped up everything that was in the room. I stripped down the walls. I ripped out carpet. I relaid the floor. I repainted. I painted the ceiling. Just everything in that room completely changed. Just nothing in there needed to look the same. Okay. So a part of me was satisfied with that. And then it was empty. Like I didn't have anything to put in it. So at this time, again, we're rocking on more like the end of 2022 coming up into the seasons. So then you have the seasonal depression. You have the struggles of just anyone having seasonal depression, plus not having my mom in my home, because even though she was 20 minutes down the road, I couldn't bring her home because the facility she was in, the type of state of mind she was in, she needed to stay. She didn't need to come and go and leave and come back. She needed to stay. So I knew that my mom was never going to walk through my doors again. So I went shopping. And I bought a lot of stuff. From ribbon to wreath frames to pictures to clothes to anything that I could just feel better about. It's almost like the momentary momentary feel goods, like you go buy Starbucks and you feel
Retail therapy is what's that's called, and it's very dangerous.
it is dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more of like a momentary
Yeah.
satisfaction versus a long-term satisfaction.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I bought these things and I had it in my mind that I was going to do all the things. I was going to turn this into a business. I was going to do big great things. And then I started getting into like finding like wreath community and wanting to learn more, YouTube. So I didn't have X, Y, and Z, even though I had all this other stuff. So I went and bought that stuff. And then I didn't have something else. So I had to go buy that too. And everything was adding up in that room. So then we had to add shelves and we had to add storage and we had to add all this type of stuff. I put myself in a lot of debt, a lot of serious financial issues. And I justified it. Every step of the way.
We'll take a pause. We're going to take a pause right there. Just take a pause and a breather. Okay. I want a show of hands at how many people can relate with exactly what Grace is talking about. Exactly what she's talking about. Where you're filling a void, trying to feel better, doing anything in almost desperation to get that dopamine hit, to not have to worry or think or be anything other than feeling good in this moment when nothing else feels good. Okay, look at the hands in the chat. I don't think anybody that's in here doesn't know exactly what you're talking about. Okay? So you're coping. This is your coping. This is your desperate attempt to feel something other than what you're feeling. Yeah, everybody's giving hugs.
And it's really scary being the person in that mind frame, because at that time everything makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Everything is justified. Everything is just, the puzzles just fit. It honestly wasn't too terribly long ago that I realized that was a problem.
Yep.
Like that because it gradually got better. But it was not until I would say a year and a half later that I looked back and I was like, that's a problem. Like
Grace is she's so logical about it. That's a problem.
what was I doing?
But this is also why you tell people all the time, whoa, go slow, don't do what I did, all of those things. This is why Grace is a huge proponent for that. Mind you, a lot of us went the same route Grace did before meeting Grace. So a lot of us are just going through it together. All right. So, yeah. So go ahead, Fred. Go ahead.
Just I don't know. I saw all of the hand raising and the love, and I'm over here just trying to breathe.
Yeah, so just go ahead and keep breathing. We're gonna switch it up a little bit here, but here's the thing, and this is why Grace feels that talking about mental health on a platform like this is so important, is because so many of us are struggling and feel alone and don't realize how many of us are going through the exact same thing silently. Okay, so that's why when Grace said, hey, I do want to talk about this. Yeah, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew that it was important. And I knew that she had a story that people needed to hear. So Grace, again, I can't thank you enough, but know that you have so many people that are relating to you, that can feel you, understand you. And a lot of aha moments are probably happening, going, oh my gosh, I am not alone in this. These people do understand. Guys, you're not alone. None of us are alone.
And to flip the script, when you asked how many people can relate to what I just said, how many people have actually talked about it? How many people have actually had a moment to where they could talk about it? And I'm not talking about therapy. I'm talking about just actually talk and be honest with yourself, because it took me, like I said, a while to realize that I had a problem. And it just, that those hand raising is just, it reminds me of like why this was important, why I wanted to talk about it, because people don't talk about it. It's just this stigma around mental health, and we, like you said, we hide it. We hide it. It's not,
Well,
it's a
because we were always told not to share our don't share your stuff. Don't tell anybody. Don't let anybody know you're crazy. Don't let anybody know what's going on. And honestly, guys, we were doing ourselves a very bad disservice. And then we had to figure it out by doing unhealthy coping things. You know?
it is definitely a sensitive topic. But I'm not telling you to go, because there's things obviously I'm not going to say here, but I'm not telling you to go tell your full story. I'm just telling you to say, hey, this is what's on my mind. Or, hey, do you mind if I just kind of vent to you or talk to you? Just talk to someone. Because you never know, you will never know what someone is going through until you just have a conversation with them. Just talk to them. Nothing
It is
fancy.
it is one of those things that we're supposed to do as human beings. Guys, we need to be seen and heard and known. And if we're hiding everything about us, if we're holding it all in and we feel alone and not known, that's why. Is because nobody knows us. Nobody knows those things that, like Mary just said, my rug is very lumpy. We were taught to sweep it under the rug. Just sweep it under the rug, or it'll pass. What you're feeling will pass. No, it won't. Not unless you heal from it. You have to heal from the things. Those are things we have to heal from. And we don't know that it's okay to not be okay. Guys, it is truly okay to not be okay. Like, that's not just a saying. And I'm fine, it's fine, everything is fine means it's not fine. Nothing is fine. But but I'm telling you it's fine, so I have to believe it's fine. Cuz guys, life is hard. Life is hard, and sweeping it under the rug over and over and over again just gets you deeper into yourself, and that's when you feel like you're suffocating and can't breathe and don't know what to do and don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Okay? So that, I mean, that's those are the facts. So I know that I did give a disclaimer at the beginning that this was going to be something that we discussed, and I apologize for those that have come in since I said that and said that if talking about mental health is a trigger for you, this is not the time to watch, because we are going to be talking about it because we feel it's important. Grace is an advocate for mental health. If you've ever watched Kayla with Sweet Girl Design Co., she's an advocate for mental health. She shares her journey. So just know that it's important and that we want you to feel that we're speaking about this because we value human beings. You are a human being, flawed and beautiful, but you are a human being and you will be okay. You just have to let somebody know, somebody in. Doesn't matter who that somebody is. Okay? Grace, talk a little bit more about that because, like you said, people don't talk about it. You don't talk about it. So you said you just recently started to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I recently started talking about it without shame. Let me say that. In 2015, 2014, 2015, I had I had love and I had a relationship, and it was, when you're in it, it was the most wonderful thing that you could possibly be in. Once you get out of it, you're like, how did I manage to put up with that for so many years? Why didn't I listen to all these people tell me? But that was a very psychological and mentally abusive relationship. And that is the one and only time that I have wanted to do harm to myself. That is the only time that I have ever been admitted into, and I will admit it, I went to a mental health unit for 5 days. I began to be medicated and treated, and that's when I really started to notice that I had like mental health issues that I needed to address, and then I also had hormonal issues, and everything was just off balance. Bring me back to the question, Claudia.
Great. So now she's going to know that I don't remember the question because it wasn't one that I had written down.
So, talking more openly. So,
Oh, there you go.
no one knew that. No one knew that I had a little bit of a breakdown. We call it what it is. Again, it's just things that we don't talk about. So during that time that I was in the mental unit, I was consulted on possibly having my family come in and having them talk to me and showing me their support. And I didn't expect to have so much hatred. I didn't expect to have so much feeling towards something. And if she watches this, I apologize, and I'm not quoting her exact words, but essentially my sister didn't believe me. She didn't believe that I had a mental health disorder. She thought that I was, just overreacting or whatever, with her not knowing that, 2 days before I was admitted, the only time that I've ever wanted to do harm to myself, she didn't know that. She didn't know that. And it wasn't an act. I did not act on it, but it was a thought that was like, I would be better off if I wasn't here. Like, this would just all go away. Well, instead of driving to work, I went to the hospital.
But that's the thing, is when that does happen, you know that that's not right. That feeling, that thought is not right. It's something so scary that you know it's not right. So I am so glad that you detoured. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm very happy that I detoured. But that's kind of when I got a little bit of a grasp on how my family felt about it. My mom, of course, is your mom. She's gonna support you regardless. She's gonna love you regardless. You commit a crime and she's still gonna love you. But it was the family, and it was the friends that I had. They're like, well, seeing that you were going through, 27 different things, and we told you this X, Y, and Z, you kind of did it to yourself. And I was like, you're right, but like, there's a kind of fine line between, yes, I do realize this is happening, but in my brain, it's a lot to process. It just doesn't process.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, I more recently started talking about it. I definitely talk about it to my clients. I definitely talk about it to friends who have any signs of, having a down moment. I'm like, you want to talk about it? You want to talk about it? Like, this is kind of how I felt when you were going through this. Like, how are you feeling now? So just being more open. I mean, I'm definitely not going to be like, well, here's my life story, But
Well, but giving people that opening the door, like, it's like you can see something's not right and they're peeking in and you're just saying, come on in, come on in. This is a safe place. Sometimes people just need to be listened to and felt heard and seen, right? And a lot of people don't have that opportunity or a situation where that happens very often for them. So I commend you for that. And sometimes people don't want to, like that's not what they want. But the fact that she invited that conversation, sometimes you'd be surprised who needed that in that moment.
right.
So that's huge.
There has been there's been a lot of people who definitely don't agree with mental health, and that's fine. I'm not gonna be the
How do you
person to come
debate
in.
that? How do you
Yeah,
debate that? You don't.
you don't. But I mean, and let's just be honest. Someone knows someone who has mental health issues, whether that original someone knows it or not. So everyone is going to have some sort of trauma, some sort of anxiety. It can be as gentle as anxiety or gentle as OCD. Any of that is a psychological disorder. So and when things don't align with certain people who think certain types of ways, obviously they don't receive that very well. But like I said, I'm not here to try to convince you that people have mental health issues, but I'm here to tell you that they do. And I'm
Here's
just
the
not.
thing, Grace, because for so long, people have been made to feel some kind of way with the way they think, the way they process, the way they handle, the way they cope, the way, you know, I commend the mental health, I don't even know what to call it, mental health umbrella. I mean, for bringing so many of these things to light. For instance, a lot of TV shows have actually been showing mental health struggles and processing. One of my favorites was A Million Little Things. If you've never watched that show, I just got goosebumps. If you've never watched that show, understand that it's very triggering if you've ever lost somebody, but it walks you through what that is like, not only for the person who does that, but also for the family and the friends and everything else in between. So it's called A Million Little Things. And if you never saw that show, it's definitely one that will take you through some situations. And I just thought of something. If anybody wants to watch that show, we can watch it together and have discussion after each episode. I think that would be epic. Just saying. Because a lot of us just need a safe place to start a conversation, to just start a conversation. And I think that would be fun, actually. That idea just popped in my head. And I think but it would be fun in the sense that we can relate to each other. It did have, I know, I'm sad it ended too, but it had to end at some point. There was enough stuff going on. You fall in love with the characters. Okay, you fall in love with the characters, but you learn so much about yourself because you can relate to the different characters in that. Kind of like a book club, but instead it's like we're watching an episode and then we're going to talk about it. Just to say how we really, because the perspective, guys, do you know how wildly wonderful each of us is in our individuality? We have perspective, right? That we can give one another, right? Huge perspective that we can give one another based on our experiences. I mean, Grace and I mean, our friendship has literally blossomed based on the experiences that we've shared with each other. From our different perspectives. I mean, age, wisdom, experience, all of those things play into this. Like, I mean, I could be her big sister. Her brother's turning the age I just turned. So I could be her big sister, just saying. But just know that these are types of things and these are types of community things that we want to just cheerlead you in, if that makes any sense. Don't ever feel alone. Reach out to, like I said, to somebody. And a lot of times, guys, it's easier to talk to a stranger. Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? Sometimes it's a lot easier to talk to somebody that you never have to see again. So I absolutely say that if therapy is something that is taboo to you, guys, there's no money better spent. I am just saying, get the help that you need. Okay?
Also,
Go.
a hair therapist or a hair a
Hair
therapist a therapist is much cheaper than a therapist. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Trisha just said, those people can become your best friends. Guys, let me tell you something. Mental health, I believe that mental health can be not talked about as mental health, but more, hey, I'm healthy because I can talk about the things I'm struggling with. I'm
And guys,
healthy.
I still struggle. I still struggle. If my fiance's on here, he was like, "Well, you're still in the middle of a little meltdown right now," and I am. It hasn't been a great few weeks. There's no explanation as to why, but I am seeking. This is what I wanted to touch on, but I am seeking professional help. I am seeking not only help from my primary doctor, but I have also asked him to give me a official referral to see like the prescriber, psychologist, therapist, whatever that is.
Psychiatrist, right, is the
Is
one that prescribes.
that one. Um, and because there's got to be, and I actually met with her again yesterday, and it went really well. But there are doctors out there that don't want you to be on medications for depression and anxiety because it can cause these other side effects. So you go without it. On the flip side of that, you are too embarrassed to ask. You're too embarrassed to say, "Hey, is this normal? Is this feeling something that kind of happens to people?" You don't even have to say, "Hey, I think I have depression." Just ask your doctor, just even if you don't want to get into it with them, just ask your doctor, "Hey, do you think this is normal?" And then open that conversation with them. However, if your doctor is not receptive or wants to answer that question, go see another one.
They always say. They always say, do not stop seeking help because you haven't found the person that's going to help you. Okay? That is why you have several people in the field, because just like relationships, guys, not everybody's going to gel. Not everybody's going to be, "Oh, I just met my best friend." It's not like that. It's a human thing, right? Not everybody is going to have rainbows and puppy dogs when they hook up. So Grace said several points. Get the help you need. If it's not the right help at the beginning, go somewhere else.
The
Okay?
biggest thing is a lot of people don't want to admit or take or have the discussion of taking any type of mental health drug. So if you're on the fence about it and you're kind of wanting to see what your doctor's wanting to, like, what your doctor's response would be, just ask them one question. You don't have to go in there and word vomit. Just ask them one question. Do you feel like this is normal? How they respond to that tells you if they're the right person for you. How they respond to that tells you how you need to move forward. If you say, "Hey, I have spells specifically at nighttime, my thoughts race through my head, nothing makes sense, and I cry for no reason. Could it be my hormones?" Sure. Can we test those? If it's not my hormones, what can we talk about? Like, what's our next steps that we could take? Because I don't feel because that's been happening to me personally more recently, that I got to figure out what's going on, is I have episodes to where I cry. I just, like, my thoughts are just running wild and I cry, and there's no explanation as to why to me. But when I asked that question yesterday to my psychiatrist, whatever it is, she was like, this is different. She's like, now we're kind of taking a branch. She had a response, like, but if you don't have that relationship with your doctor, just talk to them, just ask a question, or be miserable. That too, that's fine.
Somebody in the chat actually said that you have to be honest with yourself in order to talk about what's going on. So, like, don't lie to yourself is basically what I understood there. Don't tell yourself, yeah, this will pass. This is fine. I'll get past this. So I'm crying, no big deal. Don't lie to yourself. Be honest with yourself and get the help that you need being honest. Somebody said premenopause is a real struggle. Girl, I'm telling you, those hormones, I say I'm going through my second teenagehood. That's what I call it. I'm going through my second teenagehood where nothing makes sense. And honestly, even pregnancy hormones got me a little whacked out. So, it can be so many things, guys. A chemical imbalance is a chemical imbalance. And it will make you go through thoughts and things that, no, they're not. Just tell yourself they're not normal. Just go ahead and say, this is not normal, and go seek the help that you need, because it's not. Guys, there's so many things that we tell ourselves. And when we go to our parents, because sometimes that's our first resource is our parents, that's not always the best place to go. Just saying. And family members, like how Grace had family members react, don't expect them to understand. Don't expect them to understand. You guys can all grow up in the same house and have completely different experiences. Yes. Right, Grace? You can have completely different experiences, and your kids will as well. Your kids will have you as a different parent, just so you know. And you have to be okay with that, because it's true. With your first child, you have no idea what the heck you're doing. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. You have no clue, because that's the facts. So we mess up with our first kid a lot. Our younger kids, the youngest ones, they get away with a lot more because we get tired.
The problem, though, of being the youngest, I don't really care who you are. The problem with being the youngest is that you think, because you're functioning normal as a human being and, a child, you think that you're going to be able to get away with those things. You're going to think you're going to be able to, sneak out and nobody's going to notice. Your parents, they done been there, done that 3 other times. You are not the first to try. Even before they had kids, they tried.
Yeah, this is not new. You're not reinventing the wheel. Oh my gosh, somebody said my oldest was experimental and my 5th kid I was a pro. And I used to tell my kids, you have a tell, just so you know. You have a tell, and I'm not going to tell you what your tell is, but I always know based on your tell. Just so you know, it's the truth. Grace, I'm loving this conversation. There's so many people that are relating to this in so many ways. So thank you again. I can't thank you enough. All right. So you had said that your mistakes and failures made you stronger. You want to dive into that a little bit?
So my mistakes and failures are, kind of as we've touched on. Some of my biggest mistakes was the relationships that I was in, and seeing that I had a pattern, to where now I have a man. I have a man who is willing to go with me to battle, who was there. We dated 3 months before my world ended with my mom. So like that's he got he got 3 really good months out of me, and then I kind of went crazy. So anyway, so
Hello, you cannot talk about my friend Grace that way. She just went on a different path. She's just on a path right now. She'll be back. No worries. She's
he's
okay.
he is slowly coming back. But obviously we've all had horrible that just hit my soul. I've Yes, Trisha, I know. Obviously our past relationships lead us to where we're meant to be, whether it's single for the rest of our life or finding our soulmate. The jobs that I had previously with anything, my biggest challenges was finding my salon home. Everything that I've learned from the past led me to be the business owner that I am now, and definitely what not to do. I'm not perfect, but there's a lot of what not to do and what to do. My biggest thing is any adventure that you're wanting to take it slow. It's not ideal. It's not what we want to do. Let's admit it. We don't want to go slow. We want to jump in and have everything right now. But whatever you do, start slow. Because if you can, let me put it that way, if you can. I mean, if you're starting a restaurant, you kind of need to jump all in. But you're going to have to go take out those loans, and you're going to have to go, have those conversations with people that you don't really want to have. But if you're starting a craft business, if you're starting a hair salon, if you're starting, I don't know, a renovation on your home, start small. Start small and add to your collection. Add to it, because you're gonna see more value in it. You're gonna see more appreciation for what you have in the end, and it just makes more sense. So obviously, because I went manic over the wreath supplies and all of the things, I've started to declutter. I've started to cut back and to think a little bit more logically. So with the t-shirt business, I am approaching it much differently. I am approaching it with grace, if you want to call it that. I'm approaching it with patience. I don't want to be patient. I don't. Like, I want it to explode, and I want to be a millionaire overnight.
But wait a second, Grace. When you build something, the most important part of what you're building is the foundation. Right? So
If you have a very, very, very expensive foundation and your walls are cheap, you're not, I mean, you got a great foundation.
well, it's that whole, what, Three Little Pigs, huff and a puff and I'll blow your house in type of situation. Because if you're in a hurry, or if you're doing something quick, a quick throw up, you're going to use materials for this quickness that aren't necessarily, they're what you can do right now, because you're eager, you're desperate, you're manic, right? Using the words that you used.
Yeah.
And that's never fruitful, because we are such an instant gratification situation society, based on all the things that our brains have been trained to do. Push a button, if something doesn't happen, we're dissatisfied. Something doesn't happen immediately when we do something, we're not happy. But you'll get there. Your millions are coming, girl. Don't you worry.
So being raised in a much older lifestyle at home, I have a much different, and of being very poor, or we never went without, but we never had extra, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You learn to appreciate things a little bit more. You take things more to heart. I was going somewhere with that, and now I just had a blonde moment. Anyway, scroll.
You're fine. You're fine. We were talking about your strengths through your failures. So that's the initial question.
Yeah, it was a side topic, I think, but
That's
but
fine.
I
We'll come back.
I get it. I get asked a lot. Why do you not act your age? No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Angela, we love you. I was surprised that she said that she didn't say my Angela is showing, but nobody would have understood that if they don't watch
No,
you, friend.
I am blonde at heart. I am a natural dirty blonde. This is red color, okay? Whatever, it's fine. But no, I am definitely blonde at heart. And that's also like my ADD kicking in, so.
You're fine. You're fine. I would say I'd rewind, but I can't during a live, so can't help you there. Um, so in building what you're building, right? You're recommending that people start slow,
I
don't
am.
rush, take your time, work yourself up to it. Everything you see, you don't have to have right now,
I didn't say
right?
that.
Make do with what you can come up with in the moment. But that's the thing. So how do we encourage people in such a way not to do what we did and at the same time guide them to approach things in a way that we wish we would have without saying, hey, don't go find yourself budget buddies. That's what Katniss just said. Find yourself budget buddies. How many people are actually fully honest with their finances with anybody? How many people actually talk about financial situations outside of your home with anybody? How many people do that? How many people find that totally normal? To actually say, hey, I'm in severe debt. This is I'm impulsive, right? I'm a shopaholic. How many people just freely share their finances? It's not the norm, guys. It's not normal to talk about what you make. It's not normal to talk about your spending habits. These aren't normal things, but guess what? What if we did? What if we did? What if that was normal? What if people were like, that was a normal conversation? Do you think we would do the things we did if we were transparent? I know I'm reading the chat too. But what if we did? What if, not, I'm not saying with the world, but I'm saying with trusted people, what if we did have that kind of accountability? Would we make the same choices knowing that we're not hiding it, knowing that we are accountable to something other than ourselves?
Probably not.
Katna says that she it's not, but I've come to find it helps Grace and Kayla are mine. It helps. So she says that she uses you guys to be accountable. To be accountable to her stuff. That's why I always jokingly call everybody that's sharing sales or ribbon or this, that, and the other enablers, is because I struggle with that. You're enabling me. If I see something and I like it and I want it, I literally go and put it in a cart. I've been better about letting stuff stay in a cart and going back and just taking it out. But I'll tell you at the beginning, there was nothing keeping me from hitting that purchase.
The biggest convenience during that time frame was the discovery of Afterpay and paying for, and I mean, credit cards, like pay for it later. I mean, it's fine. And then you don't pay for it later.
Or
But
the bills come in faster than you expected and you can't keep up.
How dare they come fast? I just
Where's that money tree everybody talks about? Where do I plant that? How long is it going to take to grow? Why do people talk about money trees like that's a real thing? 'Cause I need one. I need a money tree. Actually, I just need to sell my stuff, right? That's all we need to do is we just need customers to come in, get their hair cut, buy Grace's shirts, have her business explode that way. But that's the thing is we cannot lean on the guarantee of the future. There's a good way of putting it. And that in itself can cause us to spiral into a mental situation.
because it's
It's,
scary.
it's very
It's,
scary.
it's depressing because
Yep.
you want to hold on to it. You want this good thing that you have to last forever. And when it's gone, you don't know what to do. And it's unfortunate, but a lot of people, I guess, you originally asked me how I can coach someone to not make the same mistakes that we did. It's be responsible. Buy what you need. Don't don't try to be on level 27. I think that's what I'm trying to remember what you said. You quoted it from someone else.
Well,
Don't
don't compare your chapter 1 with somebody else's chapter 27. They've been doing it a lot longer.
right.
You're
And
just starting, so be
they also
relatable.
much more
Yeah.
financial investment in that than you do because because they're on chapter 27. They have, they've worked their way to here. And because we are a world of instant gratification, thanks to, social media and TikTok and the current generations.
Well, and here's the other thing as well. So, a safe place to talk about that. What's a
Right.
safe place to talk about that? Hey, I struggle seeing things and wanting them for myself. I struggle with, blank, just fill in the blank, whatever that struggle is. Where are you talking about that? Where is that okay for you to talk about so that you can have conversation about it and get that out of your head, that it does stop you from continuing down that spiral, because we all feel ginormous guilt from it. I mean, yeah, the dopamine hit happens, but the guilt is bigger. Like the heaviness of the guilt is bigger than the depression that caused you to shop. And it's like it's that vicious cycle.
The mania.
It is. It's very manic.
Yes.
It's
And
very
yes,
manic.
cat is 100% true because nobody's finances are the same. Like California's prices are not going to be the same as here in Alabama and vice versa. So my chapter 1 will never be the same as anyone else's chapter 1. Just
And not only that, but guys, what's the hurry? Honestly, what's the hurry? If you don't take your time and learn about what you're doing, like, yeah, saying you want to make something a business doesn't make it so, right? And there's a lot to it. There's
there
a
is.
lot to it.
To touch on that, and Angela. So one thing I one thing I would like to try to tell people is if you're wanting to start a new adventure, if you're wanting to start a new business, research it. Research it. And I'm not saying Google it. Google some answers. You need to go into depth. You need to know the pros and the cons and the goods and the bads and the comparisons. What is this person doing versus what is this person doing? Because if you like me, if you go in blind and you walk into Hobby Lobby or you walk in Michael's or Walmart, and that's pretty, but it's not logical, and you get home and you can't use it, well, what good is it? So then what I would like to try to tell people is start with your research. Start with exactly what that niche is. What do you need to get started? Not what do you need to be successful. What do you need to get started? Do you, like, specifically the wreath community? A few essentials is you're going to need a bow maker or your hands. If you're lucky, you can use your hands. I'm not.
No.
Yeah. You're going to need a bow maker.
Yep.
You're going to need ribbon to practice with. Ultimately, that's your first step. Then your next step will be finding some mesh or a grapevine and some flowers, whatever direction you're going to take. It comes down to research, because it just, and that, I think that's kind of where I was going with that earlier, but I see a lot of people going back to being a moderator, and I'm in a lot of people's lives. There's a lot of people that I don't moderate for. And I'm guilty. I will watch a live during work, and I hear you, but I can't always like respond, or if I'm not hearing you, I'm just watching you. But I see so many comments. I love being asked questions. I love for someone to be able to learn. However, watch. Listen. Watch what they're doing. Pay attention to how they're doing it. Then, if you truly have a question, or say, instead of how long do you cut your mesh, do you mind telling me why you cut your mesh a certain way, a certain length? Why do you cut your ribbon tails a certain way? Because it tells me you didn't do your research.
Well, see, and that's the thing, is because it's that desperation. It's that desperate feeling of, I want to do this so bad, but I don't know how. Guys,
Yes.
when I tell you, YouTube University is real, there are so many free tutorials where people have put the information out there for free so that you can start learning. It's there. Going into a person's live and getting upset because that person isn't answering your every question, again, points back to what Grace said. That's not their responsibility. You haven't done your research.
Is the creator going to not answer your question? It depends on the creator. It also depends on the question. Because if you're asking, questions that are more on the business side of things, you may not get that answer. But it's also just a little bit frustrating to the creator to get repeat questions. And that's why I say watch, do your research, watch videos, watch the TikTok creators, watch them live, watch their tutorials, watch their a lot of creators post on YouTube, like Claudia. Just watch, and then if you have questions, please ask, because it just gets so frustrating to answer 27,000 questions.
The same
Of
thing.
how long you cut your mesh.
And here's another thing, guys.
You wait 5 minutes, she's gonna tell you.
Check the link in their bio. Every creator that gets a lot of people asking questions have already answered your question by putting it in a link in their bio. Because of how many questions they get, they've already taken care of that. So go there first. There's links to where they shop for their stuff. There's links where they have tutorials. There's all kinds of links. Go there. All you have to do is go into their little profile picture at the top. It pops off at the bottom. Click on that and there's a link. Click that link. Have fun. Go do research. Figure it out. It really is that easy. What is this?
No way. Go, shoot.
Well, but it is not to be cruel or rude, but several people get upset when a creator is busy focusing on their creation because ultimately, guys, the creators go live to gain customers. That is why they go live on these platforms. They're an online business, and this is the way that they show customers the quality of what they're making. So there's that. So, but that's the consistency, the ongoing thing. Oh my gosh. Are you being a good girl? I just want to be on camera, Mom. I just want to be on camera. Does anybody have any questions for Grace that you would like her to answer? Go ahead and put them in the chat below. So we've touched on a lot of stuff, friend. You had mentioned that you wanted to get to a point where you no longer are behind a chair. Talk a little bit about that.
So as a business owner, what does my t-shirt say? I tried to flip the camera and it won't work. So it says, I don't always roll a joint, but when I do, it's my ankle. So there's that. As any business owner, real talk, our goal is to not have to physically work in our business. We want to have supplemental income. We want to have, plan A, plan B, plan C, all these steps in place to where we can kind of step back and just be present. In the hair world specifically, that means that I would need to take my business to a very, very high level, really grow my business, have established stylists, have education courses, something that keeps people wanting to work there, because the hair world is also very much so a revolving door. But again, talking about, like the goods and the bads of what I've learned is to try to implement the positives into a work environment and to create a safe space for everyone to work, limited drama, ideally. You're going to have that anywhere. So for my barbershop and my salon, that is my goal, is to have it to where I don't have to work it full time. I eventually want to grow. I really want to focus next on, and starting now, on my t-shirt business. And I want to start having that grow. And eventually, as I grow, maybe I'll have different branches. Maybe I'll start doing designing only, or maybe I'll start doing or subbing out my shirts, or making prints for those shirts, just different things, or subbing out for all of that. So I have big goals and I have big plans. And
They're
I always
written down, right?
Huh?
They're written down, right? You have them all written down, how this goal leads to this goal and this goal leads to that one.
Most of them.
It's called mapping, and it's very helpful. So
I 100% have that for my barbershop business. I'm still working on fine tuning exactly how I want to take my t-shirt business, because yes, I am doing custom orders, and I am super excited that I have now been presented the opportunity to do custom orders. But y'all, yes, I wanted to do custom orders, but I never expected to ship anything. Ever. So
that's a whole other beast, guys. Just so you know, entering the shipping world, it's a whole other thing to learn.
So my goal was to generate more traffic and more revenue for my brick and mortar business. I wanted to bring in men's t-shirts, kids t-shirts, humor, just things that you don't get because we have a lot of boutiques here, and obviously like Walmart, Target, Academy, things like that. But you don't have anyone that sells specifically like just a humor t-shirt, or just yes. Yes.
Isn't that funny? I told you there were going to be people who haven't seen your face. Yes, this is Grace that moderates for Kayla and several of us. That's so
um,
funny.
oh my gosh, I shouldn't be allowed to read comments.
No, you're fine. And we'll block them for you. They're not there. They're not there. Although I just adore you. So there you go from TMI Gifts. So just know that. So we're going back to shirts. Several people want to know a lot of things about shirts. How can they contact you so that we can take the questions so that you're not missing out on those questions? Should they just message you on TikTok?
They can message me anywhere.
Okay.
I should have, if for any reason it does not work, I worked on it last night, but I have a link tree and like my email address, my TikTok, my actual website is posted. So just to kind of finish that conversation is I never anticipated on shipping. I never anticipated on people reaching out to me like, hey, can you help me make a logo? And then once I have a logo, can you put it on a shirt? Or I have a logo, can you put it on a shirt? And I'm like,
When did this start happening though?
oh my God, my second live ever.
See what happens, guys? It's kind of like that whole fallen. You hear a lot of people say this just fell into my lap.
Yes, it did. So my second live, let me preface this by saying I feel as though I'm liked and loved in this community. I feel like I'm fairly well known. Not famous or anything, but a lot of people do know me. I do interact with a lot of people. So I do have probably a little bit stronger following when I do go live than some others. Um, Specifically, this person beside me is one of them that was like, "Do you do custom T-shirts?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then there was more questions like, "Do you do custom T-shirts? Well, do you ship?" And I saw Angela ask, "Do you ship to Canada?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" So naturally, I have to run to Kat, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to order. Do I order boxes? Do I order poly mailers? Do I order like packing slips? Like I had no idea because essentially everything that I had mapped out for my business, if that's what you wanted to call it, was here, was in my town, was was just local. And because I have this kind of a different aspect in my town, I felt like and I am going to succeed very well, and I have so far. It just
You see what Michelle said? Shipping to Canada is easy on Etsy, just FYI. Thank you, Michelle from Creek Road Designs. We appreciate you.
is. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it. But yeah, so I had no idea that this was going to kind of thankfully explode. So
And
I
here's the
feel like
thing.
there's a
Here's
question
the
that
thing, guys. When you connect with somebody on a platform such as TikTok, when you connect with another creator, you can start to see how you can work together. For example, for me, you guys have seen on a couple of the lives that I've had the logo that I created with the elephant and the balloon with my logo in the balloon. That's the kind of t-shirt that I want to have for my business. So a lot of people said that they wanted one. And I'm like, I don't want to have inventory of a bunch of different size shirts with my logo on them that will never move, but I need something print on demand. Grace, do you think maybe we can work this something out where they can just go buy from you a shirt with my logo on it based on their size? And that way it's advertising for me, it's business for her, and I don't she's going to figure that out for her business to ship to those people. And like I said, I love that people want to support my business, but I don't, you know what I mean? It's like that, it's that whole community thing. It's like this, I do this, but she does that. So I want her to have the business. I don't need to order 100 shirts in all different sizes to hold them here for in case somebody orders. That's my point. But if it can bless another business because she's going to print them for me, I think it works. That's kind of how that works. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited because I'll have a link. Hey, you can get my shirt here. So it
Yes.
works. It
Yeah,
works.
I'm really excited. I am. And to kind of summarize on the questions, yes, I do customs. Yes, I can order V-necks. And yes, I definitely will be printing some bad words, but they will be in a separate category.
I did see that question. I wasn't sure if you had, but there you go. So basically, she will make adult shirts is basically what she's saying. She will do adult designs. Yeah, so there's no limit, I guess, to her expertise and what she will do. But I love shirts that say one thing and mean another, like the joint thing. Like that's hilarious, right? But that's also intelligent, that's crafty, that's thinking. I like that. um so let's touch a little bit back on the moderating thing, the seriousness that you take in moderating, because several people really don't know what tap the screen means. I mean, they're new to TikTok, you don't really do that on Facebook, they don't know what that means. So basically, and people's fingers going numb, guys, I don't get that because I don't know how hard you're tapping that screen. But if you literally just lightly tap it, like it becomes a habit and you don't even realize you're doing it. It's like a twitch, but you're not tapping it hard. My finger never goes numb. And if any of you have ever had me in your lives, you know I'm constantly tapping. It's like a natural habit. But what does that do for people, Grace? What have we learned that that does for people's lives?
So here's an example. Okay, we have a pin, right? So it's a push pin. You don't have to click it every single time. You just gotta touch it.
Touch it. Like literally just barely touch the screen, barely over the screen. And I always say to touch the person's nose because typically like that's the middle of the screen because people keep saying they're tapping themselves out of their lives. You know why? Because they want to see what that person's doing and they're either tapping too high or too low. So that's why I always say tap on the person's head. I always say, and they're like, what does that mean? What do you mean tap on my head? Tap on my head. That's how you keep from tapping yourself in and out of the live. Okay, and here's the other thing, the share button, that little arrow at the bottom of the screen. Okay, that share arrow, when you're sharing that live out, if you share it with a bunch of people that pop up, you just go along the line, that counts as one share. Did you know that, Grace? That only counts as one share. But if you individually keep going back, it counts like a bunch of shares. That just tells TikTok people are liking this live. Let's throw it out into the FYP for you
On
page.
on the on the person that is tapping and the person that is sharing, you are going to see when you hold on the screen and you share and you share with 50 people, you're going to see 50 notifications on your end. They don't see that.
Yep.
Because I was so terrified to keep doing that because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can scroll through and there's like 50 invitations that I sent out, but the creators don't see that. They just see that you're sharing their live. Is that correct?
I just see that Grace shared the live. That's all. Grace shared the live. Yeah, I don't see who you're
So don't
sharing
let that
it
yeah, don't let that scare you. So
to.
because I didn't do that for a while because I really didn't want to flood their feed. So I just hit the arrow at the bottom. But if you hold down your screen and you share the live and then you go down your list, I guess more vertically instead of horizontally, then you're going to help that creator more. Backing up as far as the tapping the screen keeps that person's live active and it keeps that person's behind the scenes as far as like their algorithm and the views that they get and the interactions that they could potentially get during that live, it helps boost that. Also, one thing that I try to do is always, always, always keep a conversation. Always keep the conversation going, because again, it doesn't matter, because Derek's in here, Kat's in here, Trisha's in here. I'm pretty sure Kayla is still watching. Sometimes we'll get into a conversation and we're just, kind of bickering back and forth, and people are like, "Oh my God, why don't you stop?" And we will, if there's questions that pop up and we pin them, or see that a conversation's going sideways. But people don't understand. It's like they kind of see us bickering back and forth, they're having a conversation. That helps that creator.
The engagement in the live, the commenting. The commenting. Yeah, the commenting in the live. That's why you'll often hear a creator say, "Hey, if it's your first time here, let us know where you're from. Put where you're from in the chat," because it creates those comments. It creates those comments. Or they'll say, "Hey, whose favorite color is pink? Put a pink heart. Put your favorite color heart in the comments." And all of a sudden comments are happening. That's why creators do that, because it creates engagement and conversation in your chat, which again is part of the algorithm. See, so people didn't know these things.
As a moderator, I want that creator to be successful. I want that creator to also not just stand there just kind of in their head. If we're having a conversation about the sky being purple on a Tuesday in China, they're seeing these conversations come through. It makes no sense, but sometimes they'll giggle. And sometimes we'll have conversations where it's, sad and depressing, and then we try to flip things around. And exactly, a lot of times we as moderators, especially in a lot of lives that I moderate for, and Kat I know as well, we will watch more than we talk. And a lot of people don't know we're there. But in some instances, I don't want to be known that I'm there. There's some, especially if a creator is teaching more than they're just having a conversation, I'm not going to be talking very much.
Right.
Because I want to make sure that creator gets the information that the commenter is asking for. Right. But just be mindful that any interaction is positive interaction. Tapping, sharing, commenting. Doesn't matter if you ask in the comments, not a moderator, just what's everyone's what did you have for dinner? Just keep an engagement, because you're helping just a huge broad span of reasons. Just have a conversation. Or tap the screen.
I know that this is not easy, guys. Going live is not easy, and it's not for everybody. But I know that if you worked really hard to get those 1,000 followers so that you could go live, because that's still a thing. I know several people have been able to go live without those 1,000 followers, but getting those 1,000 followers is still a thing on TikTok, because TikTok did not roll out everybody can go live to everybody. So know that it's important that people engage. It's important that that you, as a fellow community person that likes watching this person go live, the more that person that is going live is enjoying it, because everybody's engaging. You don't have to keep reminding people to engage and all of those. It makes it fun for the creator. It's not exhausting. It doesn't, like, sometimes, guys, I'm going to be 100% honest. Going live, it's exhausting. And I don't feel like being that exhausted from making something. It takes the joy of creating, or putting together a beautiful design. It takes the joy out of it when all you're doing is begging people to engage.
It can definitely set a tone for the creator, and it can definitely set a tone for the people watching.
Yep.
if someone is watching and they're having a bad day or a boring day and you're doing something that interests them, show your appreciation. It's more than likely going to give you as a viewer a little better day, maybe a little boost that you need throughout the day. And then there's occasions where Claudia may go live and she's maybe kind of grumpy. So I'm going to start making some really bad jokes. I mean, like really bad jokes, like
Have
to the
you
point.
already learned to read me? That's interesting.
Or
That's
then we can
interesting.
just roast Kevin. We can just roast Kevin, and then that'll
Oh,
cure really
let me tell
fast.
you something. Typically, when I'm calling for Kevin to come join me, it's because I need him there because I am not feeling it. But at the same time, I appreciate that people have taken the time to get to know me and can pick up on those things. I love talking about controversial stuff in my lives. It keeps engagement of. Girl,
Right.
I do not want to people that much
Oh,
because it gets
no.
out of hand. There's only so much you can control. Honestly, there's only so much you can control. Because remember, just like you guys have chosen to be in this live, a lot of people can watch from the outside. Hi guys that aren't coming in that are watching from the outside. A lot of people choose not to drop into the live. Okay, so you can be watched and not know you're being watched. So there's a lot of things that you can't control. Okay, so as much as basically understand going live, it's out of your control. Totally, completely. Anybody can see you. Not just the silent watchers, girlfriend. They can watch from the outside of your live. They can just be scrolling through. I mean, think about it. When you're scrolling through and just like literally scrolling through just like so, you can come across people's lives and the hoverers, that's the word, the hoverers, and not click in and they're still watching you. They just can't see the chat.
Right.
See, look, Trisha just, I'm a hover. I hover a lot. But
We
that's
know, Chris.
okay. Just be aware of that, is what I'm saying. Just be aware of that. And as far as controversial things, things that I will never, ever in a million years endorse, if you are not speaking positively about other people on this app, if you're not uplifting, if you're not celebrating, if you are talking about somebody who isn't in your chat and you're not uplifting them, I'm not supporting you. I don't support that. You do not talk about other creators. Guys, we're all in this struggling, doing this it's all hard. So let's keep uplifting each other. Let's keep celebrating one another. Let's keep encouraging one another because you know what? We're all in this together. Little High School Musical moment, and get your head in the game, guys. Get your head in the game because it is important. It is important. I mean, I jumped on the bandwagon of bugging Grace to go live. I'm like, so when you going live? You got your 1,000 followers. So when are you hopping up on here? And it's not because I wanted to give her a hard time, because I know the more you do it, the easier it gets. You're welcome. Now the song's in her head. I do that. But we truly are, guys, if we're gonna make this work, we need each other to be supportive because nobody gets it like we do. My in what IRL friends in real life, they don't understand why I do this. They don't get it. They don't know why I like going live, why I go live, or what it means to be in community with you. I,
That's
I
true.
can't expect them. I can't expect them to understand. Imagine somebody explaining this to you before you even know what it was. Imagine somebody saying, "Hey, I'm part of an online crafting community. We're pretty tight knit." What? What does that
Yeah.
even mean?
Yeah, I've already had that conversation with a few people because like today especially I told my coworkers because I came in at 7:30 and I left at 10:30. They're like, "Where are you going? It's Friday." I'm like, "Payroll's done. I'm out." They're like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Well, I have a talk on TikTok that I need to attend." And they're like, "What? Like you're leaving work to go talk on TikTok?" Like, well, yeah. So anyway, it's hard to explain, but I also wouldn't come in here and explain how to cut hair and expect you to understand either. So, and my fiance Jared, he has a lot of reservations about me doing this as well. He was like, "Well, you could be at work. Why are you doing this?" I'm like, "Because this, I hope, will help more people than just me getting, missing $40 of my day. I want to, and it's like me and Claudia chatted. I didn't want to have restrictions on this conversation unless I kind of set them for myself. And like I said, there's a lot of things that I haven't discussed, and they probably won't be discussed, but they don't need to, because the ultimate thing that I wanted to accomplish is, one, for y'all to meet me and know that my sarcasm is real. It is. It's not just in text. It's real. But I'm also very genuine, and I'm also very honest. I try to be as honest as possible, unless I'm just really trying not to hurt your feelings. And I'm like, yeah, it looks great. Maybe move that over there a little bit.
Yeah, I just slapped you over the screen.
Be nice about it.
Oh my gosh, girl. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, it looks great. Don't be that person. Don't be that person.
I'm not. Maybe, but just I wanted y'all to meet me. I wanted y'all to know who I am, and just to bring some awareness, because, and Claudia mentioned this earlier, and I remembered what I was going to say earlier, so I wrote it down. So the crafting community, the crafting in general, is such a stress relief. It is such a release for a lot of us. And it's, we have stressful jobs, we have stressful lives, we have stressful husbands and kids, and, the hustle and bustle of the day. But we have a space. We have just a tiny little space where we can just focus and just breathe and regain ourselves. A lot of people don't have a lot of freedom to do that, but even if you get 20 to 30 minutes of just crafting small things, it's huge. And it's that 20 to 30 minutes, or 4 hours if you get it, or all day, it helps your mental health, especially if you're doing it for the right reasons.
She can't reiterate that enough. For the right reasons. Well, Grace, I appreciate this in more ways than you know. And I know that several in the community also appreciate you being so open and so honest. And if you ever question Grace's comment, because guys, let's face it, text does not get tone or anything else. And several of us that are sarcastic, because Grace and I are kind of that realm, can be taken the wrong way if you don't know us. So message, hey, so what did you mean when you said this? Because I took it this way. A lot of times you'll get this reaction from us. Oh, that is not what I meant. So there's that.
I get that response more, I guess, like as a viewer, watcher, moderator, however you say it, especially when things are going really, really fast. I don't always have the thumb energy to add an emoji. So I'm just going to answer you, and then I'm going to go on to the next one, answer you and move on. The thumb energy, I don't have it. So.
It's all that tapping. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but I like the pen example, that you don't have to hit it hard. You just need to touch it. I love that example, because it's hard to explain to people. Your fingers should not be going numb. You're doing it wrong.
unless it's just someone being funny. And then if that's the case, sure, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But please don't actually make your thumb go numb.
Yeah, no, please. Don't do that. Or get your circulation check stat. No, I'm just kidding. Well, Grace, our time is up, friend. And again, I appreciate so much. So we know to message Grace with any t-shirt questions because several came through the chat when she was talking about that. Like, Does she do V-necks? Does she ship to Canada? I mean, a bunch of questions popped up. So be sure to go ahead. If you don't follow Grace, give her a follow. Also, if you have any questions about t-shirts, definitely go there. If you have any questions about moderating, if that's something that you think that you want to do and have any questions about moderating, Grace is a good person to ask. Katniss is a great person to ask. There are several people who moderate for creators. Sometimes people enjoy doing that because they like being a part of what's going on, even if they're not the ones that are going live. So definitely put yourselves out there and engage in the conversation. Guys, engage in the chats. You will get to know all of us, because we all, I mean, you'll start recognizing people because we all love supporting one another, and we're typically in each other's lives, quote unquote. Get it? Lives. Because we spend time on TikTok together. All right, guys, you guys have a wonderful Friday. Do something good for yourself. Get out in the sun if the sun is shining. Have yourself a favorite cup of something to drink that you love, but do something good for yourselves. And if somebody isn't smiling, as Justin says, give them yours. Give them a smile. Give them your smile, because sometimes that's all it takes to make somebody feel seen. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye, Grace. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.